The City of Johannesburg is assuring residents that power and water will be restored this week following a gas explosion that left one person dead. Technicians and city officials are racing against the clock to solve the mystery around what caused the blast along Bree Street last week. Residents have been promised that by today, basic services including water and electricity will be restored. But let's get you an update now by the Johannesburg City Manager, Floyd Brink. It's great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. So we're saying two things. We're saying water and power will be restored this week. We're also saying it will be restored on Monday. Which is it? What can you tell residents this morning?
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and your listeners and your viewers. From our side, our Joburg water team as well as City Power is on standby. Like we've indicated the other day, once the site is declared safe, in order for us then to send in our teams, we should be ready then to do a fact-finding. Indeed, we are still working towards today. Quite a number of things that we still need to do. A lot of testing happened over the weekend in terms of gas leakages and so forth. So we should be getting a clear indication by this morning around 8 in order for us to send our teams in.
A difficult time for residents who are affected by this blast, Floyd. We're seeing reports of, residents just describing how they are struggling without access to water, electricity. Obviously, you've just getting ready for work in the morning, getting back from work in the evening, what it must be like to try and manage on that score. Is there anything that the city can tell residents insofar as their municipal bills are concerned? Will there be any kind of adjustment given that they've been without these services for almost a week now?
Yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, our teams in our billing and credit control will look at all of this. I mean, it's all about the actual consumption that will happen in that particular building, so that areas. But what we can indicate, we've managed to deploy some water tankers around that area, the affected areas. We've got Jojo tanks up and so forth, chemical toilets around that area. Mm-hmm. And indeed, I must agree with you, it is a difficult time for us and the residents. But what they need to know is that we are working around the clock to be able to improve the situation.
So I understand as of today, drones being deployed as investigations continue into the cause of this blast, Floyd. What else can you tell us about how close we are to finding some answers?
We are getting closer. Indeed, we know it's a gas explosion. The drones we started to deploy since Friday already from our side into the tunnels. We already detected some level of our slabs, the slab near to one of the intersections that are cracked as well. We will be sending in, once the area is safe, we will also be sending in some drones and use technology for Joburg water, where we're going to check all the pipes and so forth. So we will be deploying.
I suppose once you have more concrete answers, that's maybe when you can give us a better answer to my next question, which is there a danger of such an explosion happening again in the CBD?
Look, at this point, the reports that we are sitting with and the technical advice from the teams is that we doubt that there will be any, let's say, secondary explosions at this point. But remember, you need to look at upstream and downstream. So we are deploying teams not just in the Bree Street area. We are also doing tests in other areas in that particular vicinity. So we are not just focusing on that area. But we can indicate that from a gas perspective, we managed to isolate and close the gas line for Igoli gas. We detected three other asbestos pipes, which we are now looking at, and that's where we detected some level of methane. And now methane is something that's colorless, and also you can't smell that. So that we've sent through to the laboratory and so forth. So that we're going to get those results by this morning. So the test will continue as we are moving, but I can indicate you we are moving quite closer to the cause. We've deployed technology and equipment such as, radars and penetration radars that are able, as and when you move on the particular road or the blacktop, it immediately detects the type of pipes that we do have underground. Now, it's important to note you've got different types of infrastructure there underneath in those tunnels. It's gas pipes, you've got electrical cables, water infrastructure, you've got stormwater drainage and so forth, and also other infrastructure for telecom and MTN and others. And that is what makes this quite difficult for us to look at. So whatever we do, it's always about the level of precision and always depending on tests that we will be getting and the results.
Repairs to Liliengoy, formerly known as Bree Street. We know how busy a street that is, just in terms of getting people to and from work. Incredibly busy street there. The flow of traffic, the flow of taxis and buses. At what stage do we talk about getting those repairs underway and getting that street back to, and perhaps even better than the state it was in before this blast?
Look, we can indicate to you there will be a complete reconstruction in that area, not just maintenance and preventative maintenance, but it will be a combination of all of those. But for now, what is important is that we've got clear divergent traffic plans in place. At some point, we thought of doing a certain two-way in one-way into Jeppe, and now all of that has changed because we're working quite closely with the teams in JRA, barricading some of the streets, continue to deploy our JMPD officials. Like we always say, there's at any given time 250 officers on site, and that is augmented by about 50 securities, from private companies that are working in the inner city. So traffic diversion for us remains key. At this point, the reports that we have, all is still okay, but that is something that we would continuously revise. In that area also is where we have our rapid bus transport systems. Mm-hmm. So for us is to ensure that we do not affect those. Otherwise, those will just have a ripple effect into the inner city.
Is there any particular kind of advice, Floyd, that you're giving to either residents in the area or people who have to pass through Liliengoy on their way to and from work and school, just in terms of ensuring everyone's safety?
Most definitely, and I think it's also a request from our side, is that people must remain safe. You would have noticed that through SAPS we've barricaded the area. From the side of the JRA, we are now installing a fence that will be a hoarding fence specifically. That area is now a disaster area, but it will become a construction site now. For them to remain on the pavements. Do not move into the barricaded or the cordoned off areas. Law enforcement will continue. Sometimes as people we are quite curious to go and see exactly what is happening, but that has subsided. What is the focus now? It's law enforcement on our side and continuous education and awareness to the people out there.
Will there be an update from you and your team? You did say that there were a number of entities involved in, what happens now insofar as investigations are concerned. Will we get an update perhaps today, given that the deadline for today, in some respects, was to restore water and electricity? Will you be giving a media briefing?
Yeah, there's a possibility of a media briefing. I will be joining our JOC meeting, Joint Operations Center, this morning at 9. I usually chair that particular session. That's where all entities and stakeholders come through. We look at the reports of what happened in the past 12 to 18 hours, consolidate that. If there's anything else we can guarantee you and commit to it, we will be providing some form of statement during the course of the day.
Floyd, let me thank you for your time this morning. Johannesburg City Manager joining us there for the latest following that blast that rocked Bree Street. It was last Wednesday. Advice for people there to steer clear of that area.